Alright. Pothole. So today is new tire day. Got my appointment to get my tire installed on the front. And it's also the first day of fall officially. Even though it doesn't feel like it, it's 98 degrees outside. And where I normally wear leather, at least a leather jacket, I'm not wearing one right now because I don't have a way to transport the tire with me to the shop. So what I had to do is put it around my body and ride with it, because I don't have a sissy bar and I have no saddlebag. I'm also heading to a shop. I've never been there. We're trying a new shop. Guy said he could get me done relatively quickly. We'll find out. I might have a new shop I can start going to. We'll see. I'm also running a little bit behind, so I'm just trying to get there. I hate these cross sections here. You never know if somebody's gonna come out, especially on these backcountry roads where it's just random. There's a crossroad intersection coming out, or there's people with these gates to their property right off the main road. Oh no. So today is my death anniversary. Back in 2015, I had a Yamaha V-Star 1100, and I was riding to work on, I'd been riding something like a couple hundred miles that day. I had woken up early, ridden out to have a band meeting before going into my job. Had a band meeting, essentially. It was one of the worst meetings I'd ever had in my life. In that band meeting, we had to talk to the singer of the band because people wanted to kick him out and we wanted to kind of have a vote on it. And we all got together at what was at the time my drummer's house. Had a meeting about it, and they not only voted to kick him out, but they voted to have him out of the band, set a date on it, that he was going to be his last day. And we'd had some problems with him. He had some drug addiction, and he was partying a lot, not really even working on music. He was just trying to take advantage of the fact that he was the face of the band, doing drugs out in public, and people were seeing him do these drugs, and then they would make the assumption that everybody in the band did drugs when literally nobody else in the band did any drugs or alcohol. So we were going to so I went out to our drummer's house, which was at that time probably about 60 to 70 miles away from where I lived. Went out there, had a meeting, waited on everybody to show up. And at that meeting, we talked about it. Everybody aired their grievances against the singer. He kind of felt backed into a corner. But it was the kind of thing that was an intervention that needed to happen. And we told him we were going to look for a new singer. He wanted to stay in the band, but he was kind of fine with it. He knew what he was doing. So I left the meeting, a lot going through my head. Jump on the bike. I had to head home first so I could change clothes and grab some food and stuff to take with me, just so I could get to work and have food and dinner and everything. And so I get to driving to my job, or I'm riding to my job. So I get to riding to my job, and on my way in, I was, I think, about maybe a mile and a half from my job. when I was coming up a hill through a blind corner, and this drunk driver comes out of an intersection from that blind corner. And you notice how this road right here in front of me, there's 2 lanes here and 2 lanes over there, opposite direction, and a middle lane. This was the exact same thing, except there was no middle lane. It was just 2 lanes this way, 2 lanes that way. I was in the same lane I happen to be in right now, and this guy came out from over here, came out from across the intersection this way, and because he was drunk and didn't realize that he couldn't merge into this traffic going that way, he couldn't merge to go this way. He used this lane that I'm in as if it was a center lane, and he was trying to come full speed so that he could then merge over. Thing is, there was a car next to me, or to here, to this side of me, on my right. So when he pulled in, he was coming directly at me. And I mean, at that point I'm traveling about 35-40 miles an hour, and this guy was traveling, you know, getting up from essentially 0, probably 10 to 15 miles an hour as he hit this side, taking a turn directly towards me, and at that point going 25, 30, 40 miles an hour, accelerating. And he hit me head on. I had nowhere I could go. I'm stuck in this left lane with the car next to me to the right. I can't just merge into that guy. I can't merge this way because there's oncoming traffic. So at that point, I chose to stand up on my motorcycle and just try to jump and clear over his car. And I remember I was like, where I'm at right now, it's funny, my tire is still right here as I talk to you guys. I don't know if you could see that. But as I approached him, last minute, I used to have floorboards on that bike. I went and I stood up, and as I stood up, I tried to do a push at the last second. And it worked. I cleared the car with my body, but I clipped my right kneecap on the windshield to his car. And when I clipped the windshield, I sent my body into a tumble, which caused me to be rolling when I landed on the ground. So when I hit the ground, I was rolling, and during the impact of rolling to hit the ground, I landed on my arm, my right arm, and it dislocated my elbow out of my arm, and my arm came out of its socket. It flipped backwards, and then I'm continuing to roll because I'm bouncing and rolling, and I go in the air, I bounce and roll onto the arm again, and when I roll onto my arm again, that's when my arm pops back into the socket, but backwards, and I damaged it. There's a tendon on the back of your arm over here. I damaged that because it's the little bone that keeps your arm, the little bones that keep your arm from going back. They don't articulate back. Your arm doesn't swing backwards, it only goes like this and stops. Well, I damaged that, and I didn't even really know it at the moment. Like at the time, I didn't even know it. My body wasn't sending pain receptors at all. I'm just rolling, hit the ground, and I'm laying there. And I remember staring up. At the sky. It was nighttime, like early evening. I remember staring up at the sky, and I was just so angry and mad. This driver had driven straight into me. Like, to me it felt like he was trying to kill me. Like, why would you drive in straight into traffic? So I'm laying there. I remember trying to use my right arm to take my helmet off because I'm right-handed. And my arm is like, my brain's telling my arm to move and it's not doing anything. That's such a weird sensation when your brain's telling your arm to do something and you notice that, like, almost like a ghost feeling of, hey, I think my arm should be doing this, but it's not even moving. What in the hell? My brain is telling my arm to move and it's not moving. And so I grab my left arm, start taking my helmet off, still laying there. I was wearing a cowboy boot, my cowboy boot's gone, or I was wearing a Western work boot, not really a cowboy boot. I'm Texan, you know, it is what it is. But I was wearing my helmet. I wasn't wearing a jacket, but I was wearing a hoodie. But it was not an armored hoodie, but it was a really thick hoodie, because at that time in September, unlike today, it was actually pretty cold, or pretty chilly. But I was wearing a thick hoodie, and where I was going to, I actually had a jacket. I just didn't have a jacket on me because I left it at my job. So I plan on putting my jacket on once I got home and switching. Or once I'd gotten to work, I'd put my jacket on and switch out of the hoodie. But yeah, so I'm taking my helmet off with my left arm. I'm trying to get it off. And the drunk dude gets out of the car and is walking over from the car, and he's drunk and acting like nothing happened. He's like, "You alright, man?" And I was so livid, I tried to throw my helmet at him, but I'm right-handed, not left-handed, so I am not good at throwing with my left hand. Like, I don't have my strength that way, just not, at least not accuracy at least. So I was cussing him out. I was so angry. Some bystanders that saw it happen pulled over, and they came over to try to help me. They called the police. I had them grab my phone out, unlock it so I could call. I called my parents, because where I actually got hit was not far from where my parents live, and I asked them to come over really quick to at least get stuff out of my bike or take my personal items, because I was about to be probably thrown in an ambulance. And ambulance comes. That was my first ever ambulance ride. Never had one in my life till then. Got an ambulance. Still not really feeling pain. They did give me a painkiller, and they asked me, they had asked me like, "Oh, like how much pain are you experiencing on a scale of like 1 to 10?" And I was honest. I told them like, "Hey, I am feeling nothing. I'm livid mad." And they're like, "Well, we can't technically give you anything for the pain unless you tell us that you're experiencing pain on a level of, you know, somewhere higher than 5. And I was like, "I honestly don't feel anything, but I'm pretty sure I'm in shock." And they're like, "Yeah, you're in shock. You look not good." And I was like, "I can't feel my arm." They're like, "Yeah, there's a reason for that we can't show you yet." And I was like, "Okay, then how about I feel like a 10? And they're like, "Gotcha." And so they put something in me. Honestly, still never felt it. It didn't really kick in that I was hurt until sometime after surgery. But I get to the hospital. I had a doctor look at me, tell me that they needed to do surgery on me. And the procedure they had to do was immediate, based on how my arm was actually flipped backwards when it should be forward. And then that was the immediate thing they could see. They asked if I could feel any pain. I told them honestly I didn't even feel pain after it happened. I'm still livid and mad. And you know, the police officer, the last thing I heard from the police officer was the guy was drunk. And not only that, but this is 2015, the guy was illegal. He had insurance, but the insurance wasn't checking out. I don't know about in other states, but at that time in Texas, a police officer could log in and validate if insurance is, through his computer system, he could validate if the insurance is current. And he couldn't find anything showing that insurance under that guy's name. And then that guy had an ID that was not a driver's license per se, but was like a state-issued ID because he was illegal. So it was an ID so he could just have an ID that looked like a Texas ID. That almost looked like a driver's license, but it was not a driver's license. It was just like your normal standard ID. And this is my exit. And so I knew the guy was drunk. I knew he was illegal. Nothing I can do about that. I mean, that's going to be worked out through the insurances later. I'm laid up in the hospital, about to have a procedure done on me. And the doctor tells me, he's like, yeah, so unfortunately, because we can't see if there's any, we can see the exterior damage that's obvious, but we can't see if there's any interior damage or any internal bleeding or anything. We're going to have to do this surgery on you, but we can't put you under because there's the worry that if we put you under, you're not going to wake up. So I had to be awake and conscious for the procedure they did. And tell you, that's something that I never forget. To this day, I still remember in my brain being awake and them working on me, and the spikes of pain. Like, it's just one of the craziest things. And that alone is one of the things that also helped me learn that I can get through almost anything. So, I'm here at the shop. I gotta find a parking spot, which I might pull up over here. I don't know where service is actually. I might try to pull up to the back-ish, see if service is over here. It might be over here, I'm not sure. No, I'll just park over here somewhere, and then I'll look for, I'll have to go inside. Alright.
Much later.
So today's dad advice, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how fast you get up and keep going. When I got hit by that drunk driver, I laid in bed for about 3 months. I was essentially immobile. I mean, I was told to not really do anything. I couldn't go to work. I learned lessons from this. Like, eventually I wanted to move to a one-story house. I was living in a two-story house, and you don't realize how horrible it is living in a two-story house when you get a small injury like that. You're able to recover from it, but when your kitchen is downstairs and your bathroom and bedroom are upstairs, and you wake up and it takes you the whole day to figure out how to slowly get yourself downstairs to the kitchen just to get food, and then 4 hours to get back up with that food. That's a work day gone. That was one of the lessons I learned. Like, I'm like, man, I don't want to be in this situation if this were to happen again. I got to start thinking about single-story homes, which is what I moved to, a single-story home. But it's also how fast I got back up and doing things. I was depressed after that, and then that's how I got Jax. He's a husky and part wolf. That's how I got him. He was gifted to me by a friend. Honestly, he's the reason that I got out walking. Doctors wanted me to start walking again before my muscles atrophied. My knee fractured, it hurt like hell. But I got back out there, started walking him every day. He was a puppy, he had to be walked, and we started training. And now I got a well-trained dog. I wouldn't have had a well-trained dog if I hadn't done that. So it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how fast you get up and keep going. So remember, pull hard, play hard.